financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Jeffrey Linden, good morning.
Ken Gross, good to be here.
Tax expert. Brian Small, debt estate planning guru, financial planner, debt resolution, bankruptcy,
superhero,
debt budget management.
Yep, that's about
Shoot
it.
the what?
Superhero.
Superhero.
Perfect.
Scott
Pleasure to
Weinberg,
be here, by the
criminal
way.
law guru.
Peace.
Jeffrey Kirshner,
Nice
workers'
to see you.
compensation, Social Security disability.
I'm limited, but
What
not
happened?
disabled.
What happened?
A little trigger finger.
You can't put that
But
finger
you
up
should see
on
the other
TV.
guy. That's all I can say.
There you go. All right, today's topic
That's the finger.
is OUID update, operating under the influence of drugs, and then
Did you just make that up? OUID?
No,
Scott and I
that's,
did
that's
together.
the what the
This is
acronym is.
It was a
That's the
collaborative
acronym?
moment.
Technically, it's OWI, operating while under the influence, but it can be OUID.
which would cover drugs or liquor.
Exactly.
All right, we're going to get to that in a second, and after we talk about that, we're going to talk about what happens when your cash runs dry. Separate topics. All right, so what's going on?
Isn't
Scott,
that
with-
you go to jail? Isn't that how that works?
when your cash runs dry?
When your cash
Can't-
runs dry.
Can't buy any more
so you
drugs.
can get food?
No,
get
when
3
your
square
cash
meals
runs
a day?
dry and you got an OUID
No,
or
they're
OWI.
separate. Okay.
All right,
I just teased you.
concentrate
All right.
on what I know, which is how to protect you if you are charged with an operating while under the influence, whether it's drugs or alcohol.
Well, what about drugs? Because that's
Right.
there's some hot news on that, right?
And it's in
You
this
you don't
state.
blow a breathalyzer for drugs.
Well, that's true. So we all know about operating while under the influence of alcohol. We have a test in Michigan and most states that it's 0.08 or higher, and that's under the influence. It's a presumption that you are under the influence. Sometimes if you get stopped and they suspect you've been drinking and you're over the limit, but you don't have any blood or alcohol results, they can still charge you with it, but those are subjective determinations. Field sobriety tests, walk a straight line, and I would say never do those. The only reason why the police
I can't walk a
offer
straight
you,
line sober. What's the problem?
Well,
So
That's part of the problem.
this is
when
hard.
are you
Right.
sober?
This
But-
is very hard.
But it, so
I'm
you never,
stopped.
you're stopped.
He looks at my license and it's 48 seconds, and he says, "I would like you to please step out of the car."
Yeah.
And he wants me to, touch my nose and do this stuff. I don't want anyone to think that this happens to me on a regular basis, but he wants me to do those things. You're saying right off the bat, saying, "Officer, I'm sorry, I don't
So
really
he-
feel like doing that."
Here's the problem. Most of the time, you're under the influence, you're not thinking straight anyway.
Well, your anxiety level is
But
through
if-
the roof,
but
as
if
it
you-
is.
Exactly. But if you are thinking straight, if it's your first offense, you hand them your license, you hand them your insurance, you hand them your registration, you say, I want to talk to my attorney, because you have no obligation to do anything else. Now, the difference is when they offer you that breath test at the scene, that's called a preliminary breath test, a PBT, you have no obligation to take it. It's a civil infraction if you don't. You have no obligation to touch your nose or walk a straight line, even if you can. Stop on one leg, let them look at your eyes, because those are all determinations to see if they're going to arrest you for the drunk driving. They're still going to arrest you. It's when you refuse your breathalyzer test or a chemical test back at the station, that's where it's a license suspension. That's called a implied consent suspension, because when we get our driver's license, we give the state the ability to say, okay, you can refuse, but we are going to take your license for a year. So that's when you have to determine, is it worthwhile not to have my license for a year or to try to go to circuit court to get it?
All right. So step process is
that's
you're
on your
saying
first.
at the scene when
Right.
you're pulled over. Don't touch your nose. Don't get out.
Refuse
don't
all those.
Don't do the breathalyzer.
Well,
Now-
don't do the PBT.
Don't do the PBT.
preliminary breath test. At the
road test.
station, if you
Then what do I
refuse the
do?
breath test, then you can lose your license for a year. So in your first offense, 95% of the people don't refuse that because they don't want to lose their license. If it's your second offense, within 7 years, you're going to lose your license anyway for a year. So you might as well refuse that chemical test. That's for alcohol. What you are talking about is what is going to be prolific in this state because now marijuana is legal. So there is no test to say I have a certain amount of marijuana or THC in my system and therefore I'm over the legal limit. It's all going to be subjective
Wait, how can it
regarding
be?
whether or not they're
I
arresting
just
you.
read an article that said that they're doing all these drug stops all over the state of Michigan.
Right.
They must have some method to
Yeah, they got
determine.
these drug recognition
Yeah.
experts.
So
So
that's
they-
a really good
I was
point.
gonna say, there
So-
must be some method to determine if somebody's on THC
but
Well-
or any
well,
other
if you're
sort
an
of drug.
expert, that means you're making an opinion.
Well, so what they have now, they have these what are called DREs, drug recognition experts, who are law enforcement experts that are people that are trained on how to determine not only are you under the influence, but mostly what you're under the influence for. So all their training is basically, are you under the influence of heroin? Are you under the influence of Xanax? Are you under the influence of marijuana? That's the training and determinations on whether or not you are under the
testing
influence.
you
But
to
Xanax and
determine
marijuana
that?
are legal. So how can
Well, just because
I'm not
something's
driving
legal
with
doesn't
it.
mean you can drive on
can't
it.
drive
I had
with
a client that legally was on Ambien, and he's driving around. He's got a prescription for it,
Do
but
these
you can't drive
DREs,
under the
do they
influence.
do physical tests on you, or are they making these conclusions based on observation?
So what they'll do is they'll take a blood test, but before that comes back, because that might take 6 months, they're taking you into the station and they're doing these recognition tests. They're doing these observations of you. They're touching to see whether or not your muscles are contracting. And the most important thing is you have no obligation to do any of that.
Okay, so
that's
what-
just like your field sobriety test. My legal advice: do not agree to do those tests.
So there isn't anything, a field sobriety test for drugs right now, is there?
while the drug recognition expert puts you through some tests.
So, yeah,
You said,
so
you
at
said
the
that was back
scene-
at the station, though.
Right, they do it at the scene, and then they call them in to do it back at the
So
station.
you then refuse. There's no losing your license for a year.
Not yet. That's coming.
Well,
so
wait,
for
wait,
sure
so-
you want
so
to
what
refuse.
about-
What are
For
they going
sure.
to charge you with then?
They're still
charge-
gonna. Well, they still took your
But,
blood.
but you've got something to work with as a way of a defense.
Right. So, like
Oh,
anything
wait,
else,
they
when
take
those
your
results
blood,
come
so
back,
6
So
months
wait.
later you're done.
So wait a minute.
well,
though.
or you're charged.
THC.
There's still ways to defend you.
THC sits in the system for
We're-
many days.
We're up to a break, so I'm going to take a break. When we come back, Brian, you got the very next question.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP.
Criminal matters are serious. Your freedom, future, and wallet are on the line. Criminal defense attorney Scott Weinberg is a former prosecutor and renowned criminal lawyer. For over 30 years, he's the go-to defender in Michigan to protect your rights. Scott's advice: you have the right to remain silent. Use it. If charged with a crime, call Scott Weinberg today, 888-235-HELP, 888-235-HELP. And remember, stay silent.
You're all set to retire. You have your home paid off, money in the bank, and sound investments. But if you're not careful, all the things that you work so hard for can disappear. At Samasco Financial, we'll help you prevent that. We go beyond ordinary asset management. We'll safeguard everything that you have by creating a plan made specifically for you. How much can you afford to lose? Nothing. Protect the people that you love and the things that you have. Call Samasco Financial today.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, we're back. Brian, you had a question.
So, THC, as I understand it, stays in the system for many days, many weeks. That's why they can catch you.
1 month, a month and a half
Right.
sometimes.
So, if you smoked marijuana 4 days ago and you're caught driving, that stuff is still in your system.
Correct.
How is it
How
when
do
they
they-
when they
how do
pull
they
when they
know
draw
when
your
you're at-
blood, they're going to find THC.
But
are
what
you under
level?
the influence of THC at that time when you're driving?
Those are
Or
all
not?
subjective issues now. That's the problem with the new
And-
legalization of marijuana in the state, as they have all over the country.
Have they addressed
is
it in
there's
any
no-
other states?
They don't have a level yet. There's
And-
no level that this state or any state is saying it's exactly you have 7 nanograms in your system and therefore you are under the influence.
And what if,
Well,
what,
let me
what if you
finish
have a
for second.
medical marijuana card versus a regular versus just being a
If you have a medical marijuana card, there's what's called an affirmative defense in Michigan, which means that you are presumed to be legal, but they still can charge you with under the influence, but they have to show why you're under the influence. You're driving. What you actually, basically how you were driving. If there was an accident.
It's got to get fleshed out. There was a Supreme Court case a few years back that hit on your question, because you're not under the influence 7 days later after you ingest THC marijuana. Your body metabolizes it. The Supreme Court ruled that you can still be convicted because it was in scheduled unlawful substance. So any metabolite, what your body converts the chemical into that's in your system, is proof of possession and use of an illegal substance. So it doesn't matter if you're not intoxicated, you possess something that was illegal. Now that it's legal, that's going to have to get all fleshed out.
So, for sure, do not take any of these tests. Also, do not admit anything. If they say, well, have you been smoking pot? Because I notice you're driving erratic. Aren't you driving erratic?
Yeah.
Don't admit any of that stuff because they'll
Yeah.
use that all against you.
My advice is usually, and it's always a very, like we were talking about before, you're full of anxiety. I'm stopped by the police. I deal with the police every single day. If I'm stopped, I'm nervous too. Everybody's nervous. But especially if you've been drinking, or you're under the influence of something, you're even more nervous. So the issue is, one, try not to say anything that's going to be used against you. It's hard to know at the time, but the best rule of thumb is don't make any admissions where you've been drinking, that you've used drugs. Don't make any of those admissions. If you have, let's say, taken your regular prescription and you don't feel you're under the influence, you might say, I have a prescription for whatever it is, for Xanax and things like that, but it's most of the time going to be used against you.
Here's the bottom line if you're watching. You call 1-800-NO-JAIL-1 when you get stopped, and he'll tell you what you need to do.
That's exactly
That's what you want to do. So watch that number. Make sure you write it down. Put it into your cell phone so you have it in case that eventuality comes. You don't have to rely on your memory to remember the number, particularly in whatever state you happen to be in.
I get those calls at 3 in the morning all the time.
Okay. All right, new topic. When your cash runs dry. Classic example, close to home with what we've gone through in the last 6 weeks in Michigan. You're a union employee. You're used to taking home $4,000 a month, average
or more,
or take-home pay, let's say. Your union puts you on strike. Your take-home pay goes from $4,000 a month to $250 a week, let's say $275 because they got a bump before things resolved. $275 times 4.3 weeks in a month is $1,182. You are short $2,817 per month. Very quickly, case study, Rob and Anita. Rob makes $4,000 a month take home. Anita's a caregiver, makes $1,125. They are a normal couple. They have no savings. They've got $60,000 in credit card debt. They have $10,000 in their IRA. They have no 401k. Their monthly budget before the strike. Net take-home pay $51.25. They got a mortgage payment, credit card payments. You add up their expenses. You can see them right here. They total $5,125 a month, the same as their income. So they can pay their credit cards. They can pay their mortgage company. They have food to eat. They're not saving a dime. They're not lighting the world on fire. Their credit card debt is killing them. They have no savings in reserve. Now the strike happens. And all of a sudden, they have $2,308 coming in per month rather than $5,125, and they're $2,817 short. What do they do?
Well, all right, let's start off with first. Rob and Anita should have come in to see me before the strike because they're paying $1,500 a month out in credit card debt.
Which is crazy.
Which is absolutely crazy. That's like, what, $60,000 worth of credit card debt.
But you know what? All the Robin and Nitas out there who are in this problem have not come to see you before the strike.
That's right. But
Unfortunately.
now they had no savings, so now what are they doing? They're scrambling. They're borrowing from friends. They're borrowing from relatives. They might be taking money out of their 401k or their IRA. So now,
what do they pay first?
Well, they had to keep the lights on.
Utilities?
They had to keep food on the table, right?
Okay. What about the car?
You
don't pay the car.
And they got to pay the car payment and the car insurance because they've got to keep the ability to go back and forth to work.
That's $2,000 a month.
They got nothing left.
But what could we have done before the strike? What should they have done first before the strike happened to protect themselves?
Regardless, they just like everybody else, you should be trying to put money in the bank and savings for yourself for that rainy day. In this case, the rainy day came and they didn't have anything, so they've got solutions after the rainy day has hit. And when we come back after the break, which I believe is coming up, we can discuss all of their different solutions and opportunities.
So let's just paint the picture, and I want to go through just what you're asking, Jeffrey, is what should they have done? But when we come back, first I want to say, what should they do now? Because they can't get any more money. They're spent $2,000 of their $2,800. They haven't made their mortgage payment. What do they do in that situation? We'll be back after the break.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
I love you too. Bye-bye. That was Jerry. Emma just said her first word.
Oh.
Jerry says hello and they'll be over soon.
Who's Jerry? Is he a friend of yours?
No. This Jerry. Our Jerry. And this is his wife and their little girl.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Time for announcements. I want to remind our viewers to listen to us for Law and Reality Live on the Praise Network, Tuesdays 10 a.m. and Saturdays 7 a.m., and on KISS 105.9, Sundays 7 o'clock a.m. Be sure and sign up for our monthly contest. Free $100 Visa gift card, Law and Reality golf hat, and a copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. Just go to the website, lawandreality.com, pop in your email address, and you're entered into the contest. We have a seminar coming up Wednesday, December 11th, 6 o'clock p.m. I'm going to become debt-free in 2020. If you're carrying credit card debt or other medical debt and things that are burdening you so you have no cash left at the end of the month to save, you should make a commitment that says, I'm going to change my life for the better so I get out of this credit card trap and this rut of not saving money. The way to do that is take advantage, come to this free seminar. We will tell you the steps that you need to take in order to accomplish it. Special segment by Jeff Linden on taxes, special segment by Scott Weinberg on criminal law issues. Attendees get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. Sign up at thavgross.com, lawandreality.com, or call 888-235-4357. That's 888-235-HELP. Remember, you can always come into the firm for a free consultation. Debt issues with Brian, tax issues with Jeff, estate planning issues with Brian, business law issues with myself, elder law issues with Pat, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner, criminal issues with Scott Weinberg. Just go to the website. There's always a link there that you can click to request a free consult, or just call anytime, 888-235-HELP. Also, take a look at our website. There's 4 great reports there that are free. All you have to do is click the button and they'll be emailed directly to you. The newest one is Resolving Tax Problems, The Real Solutions, written by yours truly. Also, How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure, Business Formations, Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan, and The Retiree's Guide to Social Security from Pat Samasco. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Samasco Law, Michigan Criminal Lawyers, PLC, and Jeff Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, we're back. All right, so what do they do?
So, all right, here's what reality is since we're really talking about the General Motors strike, what happened here is they're supposed to get an $11,000 per man bonus when they sign the contract and it's ratified, and it'll come either in the first paycheck or second paycheck after.
So they're
going to be able to fix the problem that they fell
So
behind.
if they missed a mortgage payment, they'll catch up.
If they missed
They've hurt their credit.
The credit heals. Credit always heals. But here's the problem. We're talking about all these strikers that are getting this pay, and that's fantastic for them, and I stand up for them getting their and bargaining hard. But what about the other 100,000 people that have been out of work because in Tier 2 and Tier 3, and the mom and pop that own the restaurant that feeds into across from the plant?
Right, so let's lay it out. They're laid off as well. They don't get strike pay, they get unemployment. But when they get called back to work, which will be a little bit of a delay until the supply chain ramps up, they don't get the bonus.
No bonus.
So now they're behind, and they're the same as Rob and Anita. They don't have any savings.
They are Rob and Anita, and so they have $1,500 a month in credit card debt. They have the mortgage. They have all these expenses.
They stopped paying the credit card debt because they don't have the money. They stopped paying the mortgage. What about their house?
And they had to stop paying the house.
So what are they going to do?
Well, they don't have the money to write a check. They're going back to work. So on a going forward basis, if they didn't have these problems, they could continue fixing things. But the reality is they're the prime candidate for a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. These are people that don't have the money to write a check immediately, but if you gave them the time to restructure their debt, they could restructure it. You can, when you do that, you file Chapter 13. In this case, for Robert and Anita, they would save the house, keep the cars.
Pay the credit cards.
Nothing.
Nothing.
The credit cards will get nothing
Get
in
rid of the
Chapter
credit cards.
13.
But would they have an ability to get a credit card again?
So
isn't there
whether,
credit ruined from
whether
that?
you're doing debt resolution or even bankruptcy, when you come out of either one, there are numerous lenders that will lend to you, give you credit cards, and there's solutions for credit. You know, a secured credit card is one of the best ways to rehabilitate your credit score. You put $500 in the bank, they give you a $500 line of credit. After a year, they raise the line of credit, but they don't ask you to put more money in.
Earlier than a year.
So, various solutions, but think about this. If you didn't have debt, for Rob and Anita who are paying $1,500 a month in credit card debt, if they didn't have that, they could save $1,500 a month, $18,000
You are
a year.
far better off not having. If you have a credit card because you want available credit and you want to pay it off every month, that's okay.
Right.
That you can always have. You can have it. So you can have a prepaid credit card until your credit comes back and is restored. But if you want to have a credit card so you can start amassing debt again, that's the fatal mistake that leads you back to the disaster of wasting all this money on interest. Every client who comes in, whether it's debt resolution or bankruptcy, asks exactly that question. Every time the problem is solved, it's never a problem. They're always able to obtain a secured card.
Yeah, they can get a credit card, they can go get a new car loan, they can get a new car lease, and after a period of time, you can get a new mortgage. It's not about, credit scores heal. Credit scores get better. You have to do something to change the path that you're in, which in this case, Rob and Anita with $1,500 a month in credit card payments, they're in the credit card.
They're in this cycle.
They're in the cycle. They're in the trap. Yeah. They're not getting out of it unless they do something dramatic. Doing that dramatic thing will get them a new credit score, fresh, clean. It will get them out of debt and let them put that money away for their retirement so they have something to retire with and live on later in life.
And even though Brian calls it dramatic, and it is for them, it's traumatic and dramatic when they make the decision. If you really lay it out and analyze it, it's just plain smart. It's a financial move to make to straighten out your finances so that you start saving money. If you pay interest your entire life on $50,000, $60,000 of credit card debt, you are giving away your retirement. That interest that you paid could have ultimately gone into your bank account in savings and would have made you secure for your financial future. That's smart analysis. That's what people need to see. That's what you need to do. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with The Law and Reality.